Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. We're going to talk about NXT 2.0's Halloween Havoc with a slew of new champions and one surprising retention of a championship.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a little bit. But
that's surprising. It's a little surprising.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But before we talk about that, we have a little bit of news. This first story is fascinating to me, Larson. So apparently WWE just wanted to buy everything in the world.
They wanted to own wrestling.
They wanted to own wrestling. I feel like for the longest time they sort of felt they did, but they wanted to make it official. What's going on with this? What is this?
So this comes to us from Doc Gallows. He recently appeared on the MCW cast and shared that he heard during his time at WWE that the company was pursuing a philosophy of basically owning the independents. And these quotes are these transcripts courtesy of Fightful. This is what Doc had to say. Quote, "I did hear this. I'm not going to drop anything here, but I mean, I know at one point there was a philosophy in WWE when I was working there. They basically want to control all the indies and have everything self-produced through them. This was before AEW had officially launched, and that was kind of the plan. They were trying to buy, like, say, Ring of Honor, for example. I don't know if that's one of them, but they probably tried. Luckily, these people held out. They said no. AEW happens, and now we're sitting. It's fruitful for everybody, which is really important because if it's a monopoly, we all know it's boring. It's less interesting to watch." So when I read this, I thought about what WWE did in the United Kingdom.
Mm-hmm. It's the exact same thing.
Where they entered into deals with all the independent promotions there. And we had heard, although I don't know if this was ever 100% verified, that in terms of in the deals they had for their working relationships, there was like an option for WWE to buy the promotion.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And then shutter it if they wanted to, or keep it around.
Yeah. And we saw something, I don't know how similar the deal was with Evolve to the deals in the United Kingdom, but we saw that WWE had a really close working relationship with Evolve. Gabe Sapolsky, I think, is still working for NXT.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we've heard that WWE had made overtures to acquire maybe tape libraries from other promotions. So who's to say that they didn't inquire about the promotions as a whole?
I mean, I would think that the PWG tape library would be worth quite a bit. And who's to say, like you said, WWE wouldn't, especially with PWG sort of having been, even before pandemic, in a reloading phase. Who's to say that they wouldn't have tried to purchase PWG? I mean, if you think about it, I'm not sure if you take the top 20 promotions across the country in the United States, I don't know that it would be that expensive compared to what WWE brings in. WWE has a market cap of like $4.6 billion, which probably means the company's worth like north of $6-7 billion. And so they could probably shockingly easily afford to buy a lot. Like, they'd probably put offers on the table that would be really difficult to resist. So that is shocking in its ambition. But if you think about the practical aspect of it, maybe not. And honestly, kind of terrifying, because what Gallo says here is true. If it's a monopoly, we know it's boring and less interesting to watch. But more importantly, they could also freeze out workers if they wanted to. If they own the top independent promotions in the country, then if you don't like the way they're doing business, where are you going to work? You have to go overseas to work. So yeah, interesting. And it seems like now they're going in the exact opposite direction from that.
Yes.
They're just going to, from the day, I think the idea now, and who knows how long this philosophy is going to stick, but from the day, basically the next Roman Reigns that's in developmental right now, let's say it is in fact Braun Breaker or Tony D'Angelo, which is who should be. From the day they step foot in the Performance Center, they're going to have cameras on you, and they'll be able to track your entire journey from the bottom to the top, which is a lot more enticing than trying to cut licensing deals with various promotions to get your backstory for, network specials or DVDs or whatever they do these days. I mean, yeah, interesting stuff and pretty shocking in terms of its scope.
Yeah, and when you say the indies, it depends on how local they would get with that. I would assume they wouldn't go and try to buy every independent promotion in the country.
Yeah, you want to? Yeah, we should start one just so they can maybe buy it from us.
Yeah.
No, I think the bigger markets, like like we mentioned,
Totally.
PWG, probably maybe APW in the Bay Area here. I don't know.
Maybe in
Chicago has some big
AAW in the Midwest, and then Defy in Pacific Northwest. There's good sized regional promotions that you'd assume would be on the top of their, or were on the top of their wish list, but evidently none of that really led anywhere. Let's talk about someone we haven't seen in our televisions for a while. I'm talking about Walter. We haven't seen him since he lost the NXT UK title to Ilya Dragunov, but it appears that the ring general will be making appearances during WWE's upcoming UK tour.
Ooh.
It's currently advertised in the shows in Liverpool on November 7th, Leeds on November 8th, and Nottingham on November 9th. Apparently he and Pete Dunne worked shows similarly a couple of years back in 2019 for the NXT UK title. It remains to be seen if Walter will be working matches against other people from NXT UK or against main roster talents.
I mean, Drew McIntyre said he wants a Walter match. This would be
Finn
fantastic.
wants a Walter match.
Finn wants a Walter match. I hope they make one of these. I don't know if these would make TV, because who knows?
I think they're all live events.
Are these all just live events? Okay,
I think
they're not going to do like a. What's November 8th and 9th? Is that like the weekend?
8th is a Monday, but I believe these are SmackDown shows.
I got you. Okay, all right.
The 7th, 8th, and 9th there is a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Okay. It'd be great if they did do that. If they made it like a network or not like a .com exclusive or something. Like, I want to see if they do Walter versus Drew McIntyre. I want to see that match. It might also be. I don't know about an audition of sorts, but maybe like for Vince or whoever's going to be there to get a good look at Walter, see how he stacks up. Beyond that one Survivor Series incident,
which
we should
not
say.
a good sample.
No, really, it's not.
His immense talents.
Yeah.
The only thing about Walter, though, I don't know how. I mean, obviously, he won't be able to work his style on a weekly basis on television.
Yeah.
I mean, the way as stiff as what he works, he'll have to tone it down. Maybe for pay-per-views, he can,
it's
blister people's chests with chops
like
on a regular basis.
Everything else on main roster, man. On the weekly basis, you boil down the wrestlers to the two or three new things they bring to the table, and you just have them do that. And Walter is pretty versatile, and yeah, he's pretty stiff. But obviously, even they did that even in when he first showed up in UK. He had that one chop in his first Jack Stars match.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like, it took him a little while. I think it was like a takeover that he really started going nuts with the chops, and then it was sort of all bets are off.
Yeah.
But,
I wonder if that was a stylistic adaptation, or they were really saving the full unleashing of the chops for a particular moment.
It wouldn't shock me if they were really saving that for the moment, because you don't come straight out with that. You hint at it first. I mean, that seems like one of, especially like in the UK, when even back then they were kind of on their own little island with how they do things. I think Jim Smallman was probably involved, and that guy's got a good flair for the drama. So
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Interesting stuff. Also interesting, last night's Halloween Havoc, where titles changed hands across the board, with the exception of the main title. And that's what is surprising to me, is that all the titles changed hands. Well, I mean, obviously that were up for grabs. In the case of Carmelo Hayes, he got his title back in the haunted house.
Yeah.
But I mean, that title already changed hands, so he's a 2.0 guy. And now Toxic Attraction are the women's tag champions. Mandy Rose is the women's champion. And the only person who didn't get his hands on gold last night, that was kind of a toss-up, Braun Breaker did not beat Tommaso Ciampa for the title. I'll be honest with you, I went back and rewatched that match this morning. He didn't come close. That match was Ciampa from the bell picking this kid apart and leading him to wherever he wanted to go. This was a Tommaso Ciampa clinic. What happens to Braun Breaker now? Because this man, he has no. I mean, look, he could fight his way to a rematch. What's your take? Was this a good idea? Was this a good move?
I mean, Braun got wrecked. He did. That being said, it did take a lot to beat him. That ending sequence was vicious.
It was vicious, but man, it was like Ciampa's up against a monster. That one that he obviously knows. When he hit that first fairy tale ending and he kicked out, he's like, okay, there was zero panic on Ciampa's face.
Yeah.
There was, okay.
But I think that's part of the story they're telling there is Ciampa, the veteran, obviously, Breaker, the rookie. And if Braun is going to be the guy to beat Ciampa, they have him lose this first one. And then he has to come back around. You know, he has to go through the rest of the NXT 2.0 roster, come back around to Ciampa. Now that he's got some experience under his belt, maybe now that he knows some of the veteran tricks that Ciampa knows, maybe then he's up to the task of beating Ciampa at that point. That could be the story. Or it could be a situation where they really like Braun Breaker, don't feel he's ready, put him in this main event situation just to see how he'll do. And apart from the spot where he fell off the second rope, I thought he comported himself fine. I mean, you know, people slip up.
I don't know that wasn't a work.
Intentional. I know.
Because Ciampa
commentary
immediately went for the pin.
But, you know, as a veteran, you know, you see something like that happen and maybe you go for the cover, instinctually go for the cover to give the person who fell the opportunity to collect themselves. Commentary is really quick to jump on it too. Talk about how Breaker was gassed. You know, this is a new experience. He wasn't, you know, he didn't have the cardio for this particular type of bout. But when I saw that happen, I was like, I don't know if that was supposed to happen or not. You know, because everybody adapted to the moment so quickly. So either it's a situation where they were just testing the waters with Braun to see how he would do in a situation like that. Apart from the, you know, whether the second rope bit was a shooter or not, or a work or not. Sorry. You know, I thought he comported himself well in the ring. And if they would decide at some point to come back around to him and culminate that story or not, you know, I think at a certain point with each of the people they may be high on in 2.0, you got to drop them in that situation and see how they react, how well they do in a match against somebody that will elevate or, you know, force you to elevate your game, you know? Let's take a quick break here to get a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Several years ago, while dealing with severe anxiety, I learned the importance of talking to a therapist, but also learned that it can be really difficult to find the right person to talk to. Today, BetterHelp is providing a safe and private online environment where your needs will be assessed and you'll be matched with your own licensed personal therapist.
BetterHelp isn't a crisis line, nor is it self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online, all without having to ever sit in another uncomfortable waiting room.
BetterHelp is dedicated to facilitating great therapeutic matches. Send your counselor messages at any time or schedule regular phone or video sessions. And they've made it free and easy to change therapists if needed.
And you don't have to limit yourself to counselors in your area. BetterHelp services are available worldwide, so you can find the expertise you need regardless of location. BetterHelp is affordable, convenient, and everything you share is confidential.
We want you to start living a happier life today. As a Going In Raw listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/raw. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health.
Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw. All right, before we get back to the show, let's get a word in from our sponsor, Blue Chew. So, Larson, you know, there might be times when guys out there are looking for a bit of extra confidence when it comes time to get down to business with their lovers. And we're here to tell those guys that with chewables from BlueChew.com, you can help make sure you're able to perform when you're in the smash zone.
Yeah, Blue Chew's chewable tablets deliver the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis at a fraction of the cost and combat all forms of ED, so it can help guys out there get that extra bit of confidence they may need when it's time to perform whether they're going in raw or keeping it wrapped up.
Yeah, you don't have to pay a trip to the doctor to get them. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so that means no doctor's offices, no awkward conversations about trying to hit your pile driver, and no time wasted waiting in line at the pharmacy.
And Blue Chew makes the process simple. You sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers who will help you find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. And once you're approved, you'll get your prescription within days.
So if you're looking for some extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit bluechew.com. And guys, here's a special deal for you. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code GIR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code GIR to receive your first month free. It's interesting because I've speculated, and I feel like last night was maybe some validation behind that speculation, that NXT 2.0, they're not making nearly the money they are on USA as the other two shows, rightfully so. And I wonder if 2.0 is a living, breathing audition, a week-to-week audition. Who's hot, who's adapting to TV, who's not, who's getting the buzz, and who isn't. I've noticed that they're doing some, in my opinion, interesting or at least unique stuff with Joe Gacy's character. I don't know where it's going to go. I get the feeling, and I know you and I have had the Charlie Brown football Lucy conversation before. I get the feeling that it's a bit deeper than the surface level. Oh, they're making fun of left-wing politics, social justice warriors, whatever. But clearly the guy is, number one, put on a hell of a match with Ciampa 2 weeks ago or a week ago or whatever it was. Yeah. Joe Gacy is a compelling performer. I hope that they're doing something interesting with his character. Shawn Michaels basically in an interview, I believe with Sports Illustrated just recently, I saw this morning, validated the idea that he's in charge in the absence of Triple H. He said, I'm happy to do it. This guy, Triple H, did so much for me, and I'm happy to step in his shoes until he can come back. And so it is interesting with the Heartbreak Kid in charge of things, the kind of stories that are being told. I have no, I mean, the one thing that we don't know clearly is how much is Vince, Bruce, Nick Khan, Johnny Ace, how much are they hands-on with this stuff? I mean, I think that you can point at Toxic Attraction and say, well, clearly they have some footprint on this, or fingerprints on this. But as far as Braun Breaker, I mean, dude, it's funny because I've seen people say, is this going to be part of his story? This can help him going forward. Braun Breaker is a one-dimensional character. He is a meme. He is basically his dad and his uncle, more his uncle, sort of all wrapped into one. If you listen to his promos, he is a one-dimensional wrecking machine. That's what he's supposed to be. His name is that. Now, if they did something really interesting, have him come out and say, this Braun Breaker bullshit is beneath me, I'm a Steiner. And he's allowed to sort of fully be that, which he is in everything but name. I mean,
there was this bit last night where he's warming up in the locker room and Chucky's behind him and he goes, oh, I know you. There's so many references.
Right.
To his dad and to his uncle.
So maybe if there's going to be a story, maybe it's, hey, I ain't Braun Breaker. I'm what's his name? Bronson Steiner? Or that was going to be his name? I'm
Bronson Steiner.
Rex Steiner, yeah. If that's like a story, then fine. If it's an identity thing, hey, I need to unleash the full Steiner in me, then maybe that's something. But otherwise, I kind of feel like it was last night or I don't know what. Like what he's going to have, this guy's going to self-reflect. He was I'm not going to say humiliated, but man, Ciampa showed him up last night. And there was never a look of panic on Ciampa's face. I actually went through and I pulled the Larson. I have extensive notes on this match because I was so fascinated. Okay, wait a second. What was the story? Ciampa just led this guy everywhere he wanted to go. It was easy for him. There was one part where every time Braun Breaker would hit a big move on Ciampa would say, okay, wait, hold on a second. Like he hit like a slam or a spine buster or something on him. Ciampa just rolls out, goads him out. He leads him out. Braun Breaker chases him. Ciampa just gets back in, draping DDT with nothing, no hesitation, just a master Like one dude was playing chess, the other guy was playing, tic-tac-toe or whatever.
Like I wouldn't expect as much effort they put into building up Braun Breaker over the last month or two for them to purposely do a match where he just goes in there and gets embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we've seen changes in NXT, I would think the focus on, so long as on a day-to-day basis, the same people are running NXT, which, seems to be the case. They might have a new mission statement, so to say, in terms of what their directive is in terms of developing talent and maybe some directives in terms of who to push, stories to focus on, so on and so forth. But seemingly day-to-day, same people are in charge. And because of that, I would be hesitant to think that they're going to rip up their internal script in terms of how they tell stories on a day-to-day basis, so long as what they can do is in line with their overall directives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obvious based on the position he was put in, they are pretty high on Braun Breaker, on Rex Steiner.
Yeah.
And to put him in a match against Ciampa just to embarrass him and then send him back down the mid card with no story doesn't seem like something NXT would do. So I would expect this to be, it could be as simple as I said earlier. Braun, he talks a huge game. He thinks he's ready for the championship. He gets in the ring with a savvy veteran, a two-time NXT champion, and he learns, no, I am not ready. I have to go back to school, so to say, get more experience under my belt. And then next time I face Ciampa, if there is a next time, I am ready.
He's got to go to Chase University.
I don't know if I'd advise that.
One thing to consider.
Chase lost all his students at the Haunted House.
Did somebody say Chase? Yeah, so he needs new ones. One thing I would suggest, and I'm just throwing this out there, Shawn Michaels being the man in charge, right? I mean, this is basically, one thing that Shawn Michaels is really good at. He's probably tied for the second best politicker in WWF history. Obviously, number one, brother. You know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
But number 2 and 2A is the Shawn and Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't shock me at all if Vince was like, oh, yeah, Braun Breaker. This guy's great. Shawn Michaels sitting there for 4 weeks. Hey, Vin Man, not sure this kid's ready. He can get in Vince's ear and maybe convince him. Maybe HBK... It's because, we hear, this is stuff that cracks me up. You hear about the games that are played there, right? Oh, people don't want Triple H in charge, so they try to sabotage shit. Well, man, look, the Click, that's family right there. So maybe HBK, Triple H, and him are commiserating Triple H. Oh, you're not supposed to talk to Triple H about business because he's healing from the heart thing. But maybe they got their own agenda and they're like, hey, Vin, man, probably not the time. Probably not the time.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm half joking, but that shit happens.
Oh, it could happen. I just think short term it was a sink or swim moment for Braun Breaker. Let's put him in a situation where he has to, like I said earlier, elevate his game, be in a position where he feels like or needs to elevate his game to show what he's really got at this juncture against, a really great wrestler in Tommaso Ciampa in a championship match in the main event. Let's see what this guy's got. And yeah, he got beat up pretty good, but I didn't feel like, in terms of his performance, Braun Breaker came anywhere close to embarrassing himself. I thought he comported himself perfectly fine.
As far as a professional wrestling match, no, he did everything that he was supposed to do.
Yeah, totally.
But we're talking about this decision was made going into it. This decision was made. I don't know when. Which is why
I feel like this has to be part of a story.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you would think it is. You would think it is.
If Braun had gone in there and actually embarrassed himself, put forth a subpar performance, then that's a different conversation. Then maybe it's a situation where the story isn't he's ready. Maybe the situation be the reality is he isn't ready.
Yeah.
He didn't do that, So
yeah, I mean, yeah, he was just led around a lot by Ciampa.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the match was. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I kind of feel like this is akin to I don't know. I mean, even Goldberg had that big old streak under him. I mean, did Braun have any? Braun had a couple one-on-one matches, didn't he? He had the tag matches with Ciampa. Did he have any one-on-one matches leading up to this?
Yeah. He beat LA Knight on the first day.
On the first
2.0.
day. On the first day, he had that LA Knight match. Yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting. You think that a guy who is basically a one-dimensional wrecker would just go straight to how we kind of figured it would be. You just go straight to title. And they do the whole, because everything else in 2.0 changed hands. Everything else is in 2.0 territory. except for that title. And that's interesting to me that a guy who basically symbolizes 2.0, Braun Breaker, guy who has the biggest buzz in terms of, hey, wow, they're going to take this guy to the top.
Yeah.
They didn't do it. They did not
pull
the
trigger on it.
Well, it's
interesting, the chatter coming out of that match, I think a lot of people expected him to win, especially as based on how the show was put together. But most of the chatter I saw was like, oh, yeah. If the point of that match was to show that Braun has it in him to be a main event guy, then mission accomplished.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's not what I saw. Anyways, otherwise, I thought it was a really fun show. I thought that match was fun. I thought it was just really interesting. But yeah, and I also liked how you're gonna have these title changes go down. The thing that I like about it, they've all made sense. A ladder match with 3 teams. Dude, you and I could go into a 3-team ladder match. And if we're smart enough, we could win the thing, because in a ladder match, all you got to do is pick your spot really well. And that's what happened with Toxic Attraction. They just knew how to pick their spots. They kind of got wrecked a lot of that match, but then they allowed Indy to take Io Shirai out in one of the most horrifying spills, that we saw this year, because that spill was ugly.
Yeah, that sucked.
That was ugly. And then, I don't know if I'd consider Imperium a 2.0 group. They've been around forever. But we had that title switch, which I don't know what that means for MSK.
I don't know either. I don't know.
I kind of hope that they stick around NXT 2.0. They could totally go to main roster, last year. But they're such a fun team, and to be there on the brand that Shawn Michaels is heading up. And I honestly, I get the feeling, and this is just me, I get the feeling that brand is only going to be molded in if he stays there, if he sticks around, that brand is only going to be molded into more of a Shawn Michaels thing down the line.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too, is if if Shawn Michaels will be the one running things there, what the focus is going to be on in terms of instruction. Is storytelling.
I know.
And while the people they're bringing in, they're looking for athletes, and if they can be taught how to tell interesting, compelling stories, and if they're quick to learn that makes up for a lot of potential shortcomings in terms of actual pro wrestling experience, in terms of the moves and stuff.
They have the right teachers.
One of the best storytelling matches seen in the last few years is Cody versus Dustin at the first Double or Nothing.
Sure.
And you watch the match, there's nothing spectacular from a move perspective.
Right.
It's storytelling and emotion. And if you can instruct these developmental talents in terms of, hitting story beats, projecting emotion to the crowd, that kind of stuff. It could just be, submission holds or punches and stuff like that. But if the emotion's there and the story's there, that's going to get you a long way. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do 450s and all that kind of stuff. If you're a good storyteller.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, it does seem like there's going to be much more of an efficiency in the story in the matches than we previously got before. Matches that would take 20 minutes to tell a story, they're going to try to tell in 7 minutes. Mm-hmm. The main event there, the Braun Breaker match, was I think around 13 minutes long. Yeah, it was not long at all. Compared to what we used to get with main events in NXT, which were typically 20, 25, even 30-minute matches.
Especially for championship matches, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, we had the return of Dakota Kai, who bashed Raquel Gonzalez in the back with a shovel to help Mandy Rose pick up the win and the title, so that Toxic Attraction has all the titles now in that division, or in those divisions. Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and dive into it. It started with and then Chucky from Child's Play was all over this thing too.
Yeah, he did a lot of voiceovers when they did the spin the wheel to make the deal. He kind of seemed like he was the one spinning the wheel. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, they made it seem like that. How they would cut to him, and then they do footage of the thing, and then they had for one of them they had this little kid, I guess, a couple years prior to what the demo they're looking for.
And then the other one, I think they off camera, Raquel spun it.
Yes. Yeah. So, anyways, Toxic Traction versus Indy and Persia versus Zoe Stark and Io Shirai kick things off. This was a crazy match. It got messy at times. There was like a power bomb from that Persia hit on Gigi Dolan. That was supposed to be. There was the ladder was sort of set up between the ropes there in the corner, and then but she just sort of was a little close, or she misfired by a little bit. And Gigi, it looked like she just got wrecked, and she was out of the match for a spell after that.
Till the finish, yeah.
Until the finish, yeah.
There's a couple spots with Zoe Stark where it looks like she could have hurt herself. Not sure if she did. There was that suicide dive, or the dive. Sorry, not a suicide dive, but a dive off the top. She gets the ladder she's on gets pushed over. She kind of does a springboard off the top rope, and it looks like she banged her knee pretty good, and then she did like a Phoenix splash, and it came up a little bit short. And looks like she could have tweaked her knee, so hopefully she's okay.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
I'm seeing the talk here in chat about Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor released a statement. There's a breaking news.
They're going on hiatus for the beginning of 2022.
So this is the statement. Throughout the pandemic, our top priority was to keep everyone healthy and safe. And despite not producing any live events over 18 months, we were able to keep everyone fully contracted. We now find ourselves at a time where we need to make changes to our business operations and are planning a pivot for Ring of Honor with a new mission and strategy. The year will culminate with a final battle in December, and we will be taking the first quarter of 2022 to work internally to reimagine Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has the most dedicated fans in the industry, and we appreciate their loyalty and patience as we reconceptualize Ring of Honor. We anticipate returning to live events in April for the Supercard of Honor with a new fan-focused product and provide a unique experience for wrestling fans.
And then Dave Meltzer just tweeted, Ring of Honor released everyone from contracts, more to come.
Wow. That's crazy. Man. That's a shame. But a lot of really good talent is going to be on the free market right now. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up. But that's an absolute shame for those talents. Wow.
Yeah, be interested to see going forward.
I mean, it's a complete. You and I have talked about this quite a bit. It's a completely different market since AEW came to the scene.
You got that right.
And Ring of Honor really, I mean, especially with the relationship with AEW and Impact. I mean, Impact has managed to remain relevant. Largely I think due to their relationships with other companies, but also they are part of an outfit that owns the TV station they're on, which I mean Ring of Honor kind of is too, but evidently there are different factors at play.
So Sean Ross Sapp tweeted as well. It says, based on who I've spoken with, Ring of Honor releases are effective at the end of the year. If a contract goes beyond that, they're paid until March 31st.
Oh wow. Well, that's good. They're taking care of their people up till then, at least. So that's good.
Yeah. And, and hats off to Ring of Honor. They did that during the entire pandemic. They weren't running shows, but by all accounts, they were still, paying contracts.
They were taking care of people. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Anyways, getting back to it. So Zoe Stark hit this crazy. It's like a corkscrew. Where is it here? So
it's like a corkscrew.
She pushes
like a Phoenix splash type deal. Yeah.
So before that, like Persia pushes the ladder over as Zoe's on it. She leaps off of it and then jumps onto the ropes and springs off the ropes onto the floor, which was a crazy. Like it was one of those spots where you just got to see it because I don't know if I've seen that before. It was awesome. And then if you want to go for the finish here, you can.
Okay. So Zoe hits that corkscrew splash on Gacy Jane, who was, on top of the ladder, became a bit short and looked like she could have tweaked her knee or ankle. And so Indy comes in, hits a spine buster on Zoe on top of the ladder. She starts to climb. Io climbs the other side. Io hits her off, and then Indy pushes the ladder over to a ladder that had been bridged between the apron and the announce table. So Io takes a really nasty spill on that. Indy is climbing up the ladder, and we get a shot that's pretty tight of Gacy Jane hitting her, going after her, trying to prevent her from climbing the ladder. So Indy boots her off, and we go to a wider shot, and Gigi Dolan's already up there, right at the top of the ladder, basically. She boots Indy off and then grabs the titles to get the win.
Yeah.
It was pretty well done because Gigi took that powerbomb spot, and we didn't see her for a long time.
Yeah.
And we don't see her climb up the ladder. When they cut to that longer shot, she's just there, ready to knock Indy off the ladder.
Yeah, yeah. After that, we had the first segment of Carmelo and Trick Williams visiting Dexter Loomis's haunted house. Yeah. They pull up to the house, and Carmelo's kind of like, wait, are we sure this is it? And Trick says, Siri, don't lie, man. And Trick is always full of little asides that are hilarious. His character stuff, he is going to go far. If he can, I don't know much about him in the ring, but if he can put it together in the ring, he will go far, because that's the kind of stuff that Vince loves.
Yeah. He and Carmelo have really good chemistry as well.
Yeah. So anyways, Carmelo's like, hey, we came here to get the title back. They argue about it because Trick does not want to go in, and Hayes like, come on, man, you got to go with me. So John and Loomis are inside the house, and they got Johnny Gargano says, don't worry, man, I've home alone this whole place up, and then he's like, I even got this guy, and then the zombie ref shows up, and he's hanging out with Gargano and Loomis. It's hilarious.
It's great.
So Carmelo and Trick walk up to the house. Trick says, come on, man, I'll buy you a replica. I was like, I don't want a replica. I want one with my plates on it. So then they go into the house, and we get a to be continued.
Yeah.
Then we get a replica.
That was great. And then we get Grayson Waller hosting the show as Dracula. LA Knight had won a match to earn that right, but apparently, we never got the full story. I guess we kind of did, maybe, of why he wasn't there. But anyways, Grayson says maybe LA Knight couldn't handle the pressure of hosting. And so he's talking about a party that he's having backstage, and then he's interrupted by Joe Gacy. Gacy gives Waller a hug, asks for his mic. Waller hands it over. Gacy says, corrupt minds like Waller's is why Halloween isn't an inclusive holiday. It's an excuse to exploit and sexualize people. He says, to set this right, I'm going to send a positive message in the ring against Malik Blade. Violence is not the answer. And as he turns around, walks the ring, he walks right into a drop kick from Blade. That match begins.
For Malik Blade, he wasn't even dressed up like a character. This is not a statement, Joe Gacy. No, Malik Blade, by the way, a dude who can make. It's funny because you look at the match. Tony D'Angelo he's had two matches. One was his first one was against Malik Blade. Tony D'Angelo looked great. He looked great in that match. And then he had another one against a bigger dude, and I forget his name. But he looked less great there. And I honestly think it's just Malik Blade makes everybody look good. Yep. So I hope that he gets a bit more shine. I hope he's like the Jack Stars. He gets a little bit more shine going forward down the line, because obviously he's a talented guy. He can make all these sort of newer guys look good. Joe Gacy's not a newer guy, but yeah, Tony D'Angelo. And then I think Zion Quinn was the other guy that Malik Blade had a match. And that match, Zion Quinn looked pretty good. He has a match against somebody else, not as good.
Yeah. So this match starts. We get some security cam footage of Harlan showing up at I don't know what they're calling it now, so I'll still call it the CWC. Towards the end, Gacy throws Blade out of the ring, and Harlan finally shows up ringside. He grabs Malik Blade by the chin throat area like he had done with Gacy a few weeks back. Gacy implores him to let a Blade go. Harlan does. Blade gets back in the ring while Gacy is talking to Harlan. Blade tries to hit a move on Gacy from behind. He ducks it, hits his finisher to get the win. And then afterwards, this is just kind of, just using camera audio, Gacy and Harlan are talking some more, and Gacy tells Harlan, you can trust me. And then they walk out together.
I like that they just use the camera audio for this. I like that it's a small moment between these two dudes. After that, we had the long-awaited return of Kaylee Ray after she's been missing in action for a couple weeks now. She had a video package. She was in one of those, what do you call those things? A room that you go in, they just have a bunch of stuff, and you can just wreck it all.
Is it Smash Room?
Is it a Smash Zone? No, that's our show. Smash Room. So she's in one of those, and she has a thing of spray paint. She spray paints KLR on there, and she gets some voiceovers. She talks about being the longest reigning champ in NXT UK. She says, what did that get me in NXT 2.0? Nothing. She says, it's time to rage. And so she's just breaking a bunch of stuff in this Smash Room of hers.
Yep.
After that, we got the backstage party. Everybody's dressed up, looking like they're having a good time. One thing about 2.0 is that it's going to generate a locker room like a year from now that is really tight. because all these guys and gals got signed back in February, and they're just being pushed out on cable TV. And so you're going to see these relationships develop because they're all in the fire now. And so you see everybody backstage. Grayson walks up to Jiro and Kushida, and Jiro doesn't quite understand the idea of Halloween. Grayson tries to explain it, says it's like cosplay. And so Kushida's like, hey, Jiro, I got an idea.
Yeah, and then Waller walks up to a couple women, is talking to him. Cameron Grimes walks in dressed as an astronaut.
Can you please read? Perfect. Can you please read your note about what Waller does here?
And then the women leave.
Waller tries to mac on girls, according to these Larson.
What he's doing.
How high up was the macometer, man?
It wasn't terribly high.
It never is.
No.
Oh, man. After that, we had a Diamond Mine promo. Bivens issues an open invitation for the match for anybody. In that he introduces, he's like, hey, pick your poison here. Odyssey Jones answers the challenge for Roderick Strong, and Bivens says, dude, you're not 205. And Odyssey Jones says, oh, I'm almost there. He says, I want Roderick Strong, and Roddy's down for it. So we had Odyssey Jones versus Roderick Strong. Of course, shenanigans from Diamond Mine led to enough distraction for Roderick Strong to hit a massive jumping knee on Odyssey Jones that just completely crumpled him.
Oh, it was a hell of a sell by Jones. Hell of a sell.
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah.
Hell of a sell. Then we get an Imperium interview. They're asked if they've spoken to Walter. Bartel answers in German. He just says tonight's about them. We don't want to talk about Walter. Tonight is about the gold. And then Eichner speaks in Italian and says more or less the same. Tonight is their night.
This is cool. They had it all subtitled. Yeah, that was neat. I like that.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And then we go back to the party, and we have Lash Legend talking to Tony D'Angelo, and she was like, all right, you can be on my show next week. We got Von Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly hanging out. Von is asked, who are you dressed as? He says, I'm Brad Pitt.
Because he's just dressed in like a nice shirt and like some jeans.
Yeah.
So the joke is, I'm as handsome as Brad Pitt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we get Zion Quinn. Apparently, there's a ruckus going on. The camera goes over there. Robert Stone's upset because he says Zion Quinn stepped on his shoes. Robert Stone's dressed as Elvis and says, you're just lucky they're not blue suede shoes. And so Zion Quinn chokeslams Robert Stone through the craft service table.
This is like that time. This is like that time at that one party you and Hilton almost came to blows. Somebody who's probably Hilton was
never
drunk,
happened.
and you and him were about to throw, but no tables were broken in that particular encounter. After that, we had Mandy Rose versus Raquel Gonzalez. Mandy Rose comes out, and then Raquel Gonzalez, she had an NWO sold out type intro where she's on a motorcycle, not a garbage truck. But she comes driving up to the CWC or whatever they call it now on her motorcycle. She makes her entrance on it too. And then Chucky's, and then just so they spin the wheel, and it's Chucky's choice. So conveniently, he's able to decide what match this is, and he picks a trick or street fight, which nobody was wearing jeans, so that should have been off the table, but whatever.
Indeed.
It's 2.0. They can do what they want. And this is a fun match. Like it was pretty brutal.
It was.
There's all sorts of chair stuff, kendo sticks going on here. At one point, Mandy traps Raquel in an office chair with a kendo stick and then hits a nasty running knee to tip the chair and Raquel over. She tries to go for a cover, but she must not have been paying attention because even in a street fight, you have to pin the person inside the ring.
That's right.
On it, which doesn't really make sense. Street fight. The idea is, shouldn't it spill onto the street? You should be able to finish the match wherever you want. But
yeah, like if you lay out somebody so bad you could pin them in the street, doesn't make much sense. You have to pick them up, put them over your shoulder, and walk back to the ring to give this time to come too. Doesn't make any sense.
We had the mystery figure show up. Raquel had speared Mandy through a table set up in the corner. She only got 2 for that because it took her forever to get the cover. And then she's loading up, I think, with a kendo stick or something, and a mystery figure who had apparently entered in during one of the party segments or during the previous party segment. Well, she shows up at ringside, and then she blasts Raquel in the back with a shovel. And then Mandy hits one of those great V triggers on Raquel for the win, new champion. And then the mystery figure comes in and takes off her mask. And totally Dakota Kai.
Yeah. So we're back to the haunted house. Mello and Trick are walking through their, face with a bunch of witches and monsters and zombie. They get past them. They keep getting freaked out. And then I think one of them says, hey, we're being chased. And then Andre Chase is there. Stands up and says, did somebody say Andre Chase? And they're all, what are you doing here? He says, I brought my students for a field trip, but I can't find them.
It's a terrible field trip.
An awful field trip. So we cut to Gargano and Loomis. Johnny says it's time to go get him. They leave. And so then Chase, Carmelo, and Trick walk up to, like some sort of zombie type thing. Chase says, holy shit. Something pulls Mello away. Loomis creeps up behind Trick Williams. He runs into a room with this monster and then turns around, accidentally punches Mello. So the title's there, North American title's there. Carmelo walks up to it, reaches for it. Trick tells him, whoa, hold on. It could be booby trapped. And Carmelo's like, not worried about it. He grabs it. And then as soon as he does that, Loomis and Gargano are behind them. It freaks them out. Trick and Carmelo leave. Zombies kind of attack them. They fend them off, only to be face to face with Gargano and Loomis. And then Carmelo and Trick just run off screaming. And then Gargano tells Loomis that next year, or that his house is weird. Next year, Halloween's going to be at his place.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe a little long, but still pretty damn entertaining.
It was funny because the chemistry between everybody was really good. And you could tell they actually, it seemed like they went to like a really good haunted house set up somewhere for Halloween. Yeah. And shot there over the course of a night. Because the production value, I felt like, was much better than the thing they did last year.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Then we had Grayson Waller back in the ring. He says he wants to talk about the real star of the show tonight, himself. He asked the truck to put all his social media handles on the screen, and then he starts talking about all of his social media endeavors. He's interrupted by LA Knight, who literally has the exact same costume. And then he tells Waller to take his dollar store costume back, even though clearly they just bought two of the exact same costume. That's pretty funny. He says, take your dollar store costume back. The real star is here. Yeah. Grayson says, it wasn't his fault you had car problems. Knight's like, whoa, hey, how did you know I had car troubles, dummy? And then all that business is interrupted by Solo Sikoa, a.k.a. Other Uso guy, he looks dead on like a mix of Jimmy and Jey Uso. This dude is clearly bloodline through and through. So Knight pushes Waller into Solo. He suplexes Waller out of the ring. It was nasty looking too. Yeah. And Knight takes off. So Knight's going to be the first victim, I'd imagine, of Solo.
So LA Knight is the Dolph Ziggler of NXT 2.0.
Yeah. Hey, gatekeeper. Yeah.
Then we get a quick shot I mentioned earlier. Braun Breaker warming up backstage. Chucky is sitting in the locker room and goes, hey, I know you. And he's like, ask Chucky, who do you got for this match? Oh, Braun? So do I.
New NXT champion.
And then we got the tag title bout between MSK and Imperium. Again, this is a spin the wheel, make the deal bout. This time the wheel came up lumberjack match. And so a bunch of tag teams surrounded the ring. It's a really fun bout. There was this crazy spot where Bartel's on the top rope and Wesley was setting up to, I don't know if he's like going to spear him off the top to the floor or something. Well, Bartel evaded, so Wesley does a flip over the ring post onto the lumberjacks. And then Nash Carter's setting up to hit a cutter on Bartel from the top rope to the floor. And the lumberjacks kind of caught Bartel, but it looks like basically no one caught Nash Carter because he just basically belly flopped on the floor. So that leads to a huge brawl amongst the lumberjacks. They all brawl backstage. So both members of Imperium, both members of MSK get in the ring. They start trading blows. Eventually, Lee takes out Eichner with a tornado DDT, and then Carter hits Bartel with a leaping destroyer. Hits that assisted shooting star press that gets 2. So MSK is set up for their finish. Eichner breaks it up, and then Imperium hits a bunch of offense, culminating in their finish to get the win. It was pretty surprising. That was like, I found the outcome of that match more surprising than Braun losing to Ciampa.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to think about any of these, to be honest with you. Yeah, MSK versus Imperium. Imperium looks great these days. And I have no idea what they're doing with them, so I didn't really know what to think about this match.
I mean, here's a way to look at it. Is this the first step in bringing Walter into 2.0?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's great. That'd be awesome. I'd be all about it. That's the dude who's take the title off Ciampa.
Oh yeah,
have him be the new guy. That's
and that is a mountain to climb. If a 2.0 wrestler is going to take the belt off Walter, no disrespect to Ciampa. Ciampa's great, but man,
if they make Walter the guy there,
Walter is like final boss.
He is. He totally is. Yeah, boy, that'd be something else. Yeah, but as far as Braun Breaker, I just figured at this point, dude, all the titles will change hands. So like,
sometimes shows will do that. Well, they have all the titles change hand, and the last one will,
Yeah, they did that last night.
Yeah.
That's what that show did. So yeah, this match, I mean, again, like I said, it was sort of a clinic for Ciampa. He was able to frustrate Braun early. He was targeting the stamina because he whenever he could, he would evade Braun's strength moves. And there's two things. Braun looked good in two categories. Ciampa sold the shit out of every move Breaker did. Mm-hmm. Like, he made it look like, oh, that sucks. Now I got to counter. So he tried to evade any power move that Braun would do. And he tried to wear him down. He tried to wear his stamina down because Braun has the power, but he doesn't have the stamina. Mm-hmm. And so that's where Ciampa focused on. So there was a lot of just sort of frustration moves, like headlocks. He got him in like a leg lock, whatever the thing's called. Mm-hmm. He was evading the power moves, not letting Braun really wrestle. He was making Braun chase him. Eventually, Braun gets him with a spine buster. Ciampa goes to the outside, and he starts peeling the mat away. Braun comes to the outside. He's able to counter the suplex on the concrete with a suplex of his own, but it's on the mat. Ciampa still sells it, but it's not as bad as the concrete. Mm-hmm. Braun rolls him back in. Ciampa is able to counter Braun's attempted power moves. He keeps just peppering him with, like, there's a sequence where he's just giving him chops, strikes, a bunch of knee strikes, more stomps. Drops a double axe handle on him. We're about 6 minutes deep into the match, and Braun is gassed at this point. Like, he's really selling it anyways. He's able to get some power moves in, a belly to belly. That's when he goes to the second rope. He slips and falls. Ciampa goes immediately for the cover. And like you said, that could have been either one. It could have been a shoot. It could have been a work. Could have been either one. I don't know.
Yeah, commentary is right on it, though.
Mm-hmm, yeah. But like you said, they're all professional. I mean, it was kind of funny when Vic Joseph forgot to call Wade Barrett Wade and he called him Stu instead. Matthew from Botchamania had that all ready to go this morning. It was pretty funny.
That is funny.
So anyways, Ciampa whips Braun Breaker into the ropes. Braun comes back with a nasty shoulder tackle. And then immediately Ciampa rolls to the outside. He's like, okay, let me get him outside. Braun follows him. Ciampa immediately gets back in as Braun's trying to get in. Draping DDT. He gets two on that. Ciampa hits some strikes, a knee strike. That's when Braun barks at him, goes, does that old stuff. Ciampa tries for some more strikes. That's when Braun hits his Frankensteiner. Then the underhook slam for two. Braun goes for his finish. Ciampa gets out of that, hits that Scorpion Death Drop. They trade blows, but Ciampa realizes he can't really do that for long, so he starts doubling up on those, and he starts just inundating them with the chops and the strikes. Braun gets him out on the apron. Ciampa literally looks down, sees the concrete, and is like, okay, let's go down here. So he just goes down. Braun follows him, hits the DDT on the concrete, gets him back in, a fairy tale ending for two. And then the camera goes right to Ciampa. He's like, all right, well, we'll try this then. 4 V-triggers to Braun's head, and Braun's selling him like a champ, and he's bleeding from the concrete.
Yeah, before the knees. Yeah, he's already bleeding from his head and his mouth.
And but it's just Ciampa picking him apart. It's like a giant animal. He's like, okay, well, one shot's not going to get you. Let's go ahead and get these. So he hits 3, I think, more knee strikes, and then another fairy tale ending, and that gets the job done. Mm-hmm. So he just picked the dude apart, and that's the thing. It's the veteran story, but it's like, man, how is Braun going to counter all that? Like, I hope they do tell that story, because that's a hell of a story to tell. Braun has a chin, and he's got power moves.
Yeah,
but beyond that, he was outsmarted and outclassed during this entire match.
Well, that's what he's got to work on. Remember, it's not wins and losses; it's wins and.
It's a lot of learning he's going to have to do.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
but
so
I mean, I think now with Braun kind of representing 2.0, the idea, at least, in terms of the grander point of the story is, okay, if Braun was the best that 2.0 had at that point, well, anybody's is going to have to really up their game to step in the ring with Ciampa and think they're going to win,
Well, that's an interesting point, because then it alters the landscape of who's going to take this guy on. Like, I don't know what in kayfabe Joe Gacy's story is in terms, like who even his character really is. Like, he's a bit of an enigma, but like Braun Breaker's story kind of is he's a rookie. He's a new guy. Von Wagner, his story is he's a new guy. So he's looking for mentorship, and he's found it by mentoring Kyle O'Reilly, right?
He's looking for a mentorship, but he's not the one looking for a mentor.
All right. He feels he can learn by mentoring somebody, which is a groundbreaking strategy.
Truly.
But who does that leave in terms of like 2.0 guys? Does it seem now that like it would be a 1.0 guy, or like we've already mentioned Walter as a possibility? Like, where would they go from here?
I mean, it depends on how soon they want to have a 2.0 guy beat Ciampa. Now, if they're willing to take their time with it, then you got to look at Carmelo Hayes as a possibility,
who HBK apparently loves. He went straight to putting that title on him. Do you wonder if, there's nothing else they could have done. They couldn't have put that title on anybody else. But I wonder if HBK is sitting there thinking, man, if I knew that Vince was going to say no to Braun Breaker, I wonder if he would have kept that title off Carmelo in hopes that maybe he could have been the guy at Halloween Havoc last night to take it off Ciampa. I
wonder if they're going to do a story now going forward with Ciampa is, all right, he outclassed Braun in virtually every capacity. Next time, you would hope whoever faces Ciampa next will watch that tape, learn from what Braun didn't do or couldn't do, and then tailor their strategy towards Ciampa to counteract that. So, if subsequent title defenses by Ciampa, he's not as dominant as he was against Braun. Match after match, these 2.0 developmental talents are learning more and more and more till eventually. Maybe if it'd be pretty interesting if by the time Ciampa loses, whether it's to Braun or somebody else, the tables are completely turned where whoever beats up Ciampa just outclasses him in every capacity.
Yeah, but wouldn't that take like if you're gonna do it anywhere close to realistic, wouldn't that take like a shit ton of time? Ciampa, that's the thing about Ciampa. That dude has been through it. There's a reason why he's in there, outclassing people. And you could be completely right. From everything we know, Ciampa is producing stuff backstage. Clearly, he probably produced this match. But Jonathan here has an idea. Says Vince probably already wants Braun on main. Do you think that might be a possibility? Let's see what he can do. Let's see what he can do in a main event 13-minute match. And if I like what I see, and if he can stomach, the ego thing taking a loss, which is what we kind of heard might have been the Cross thing. Like, hey, let's put him in there and have him lose and see how he reacts on main roster. Maybe Braun will be headed to main roster. I don't know. You'd think that all sorts of people would be heading to main roster.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of interesting. But yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and answer some questions. I think I have a Twitter thread if you want to answer some here in the Twitch chat.
Jonathan here says we need to shout out Denise's Steiner Math promo.
Oh, man.
If you haven't mentioned it.
That really needs to be an annual challenge for like, I don't know, something for everybody to try their hand at Steiner Math. Because I thought she did. The costume, everything was great. It was really fantastic.
Great.
Let's see here. We've already sort of talked about that. Alex Foster. Which one of you is Kyle O'Reilly and which one is Von Wagner?
Oh, gosh.
Neither. We're both too old to tell the other guy what to do and how to do it. So whether it's Von Wagner as mentor or Kyle O'Reilly as mentor, I don't really think that relationship here exists.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You know what it really is? Here's what it is. You and I are Kyle O'Reilly, and the man turn is Von Wagner. A guy who should be our our mentor. I'm sorry, our mentee, our protege.
Yeah.
But he's really teaching us.
Truly. Going Broadway podcast says, looks like your interview with Jay Lethal on November 11th just got more interesting.
Yeah, the Going In Broadway podcast.
Going Broadway podcast.
Going Broadway podcast. Yeah, they mentioned they had that lined up. Go check out the Going Broadway podcast, and maybe you'll get some answers there. Moses opposes, which horror movie villain would you have replaced the role of Chucky in tonight's episode? I was always a Freddy Krueger guy.
Yeah.
He was very clever. The other guys didn't really talk.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you got Candyman. He talked.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Candyman.
Candyman was cool. Tony Todd was the shit.
Yeah, man.
He really should have been a bigger star. That guy was awesome.
Absolutely. E-Dub says Larson just described the Nightfall comic in regards to Ciampa. That's right. Bane was the final boss there.
Bane, yeah. Bane. Let's see here. Anthony R. If a male superstar was to join Toxic Attraction, who should it be?
Grayson Waller.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Michael So Dope, do you think Ethan Page should win the title tonight to make the whole feud actually interesting?
No.
That would be Sammy be kicked out of the inner circle.
Yeah. No, I don't think that. I think it's going to be a hell of a match, though. Xavier Gray. Does anyone else miss seeing Ember Moon on TV? Yeah, me. Absolutely. Yeah. She's one of my favorite in-ring wrestlers.
She's fantastic.
Every match she's in, fundamentally, is so good.
Yep. Jimmy Thomas says, okay, let's get Bryan Danielson versus Jonathan Gresham. Also, should AEW try to buy the Ring of Honor tape library before WWE tries it? Now, I mean, there's nothing to indicate in Ring of Honor's statement that they're in danger of going out of business.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like they are simply kind of hitting the reset button.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I really hope that this is a legitimate plan they have in place and they're not just sort of doing wishful thinking here, because it'd be great to have. I mean, that's one thing that Ring of Honor, I mean, you and I, going back years, the thing that we really never got into it was the presentation. They've always had great talent there. And even now they've got great talent there. It's packaging it. The fact that Sinclair could have had an AEW on their hands.
I know.
If they had just let go of what they started out as. But they never did. Like they thought that they could be that same presentation through and through and that would work. But I guess they just didn't realize that, hey, you could have had a second legitimately large national promotion. So hopefully they're able to get it together.
Yeah. Dang MQ says Ciampa needs a longer run as NXT champ because his last run was cut short due to injury. That's a fair point.
Yeah, I don't know that his legacy in NXT is not tied to whatever happens in 2.0. I think Ciampa's legacy in NXT is like set. Like, I don't think this title run matters really at all for his legacy. I mean, the length of this title run, I don't think they need to think about that at all because, like, this dude is synonymous with the best of NXT.
I'll say this, though. If he can be the guy that can, on a regular basis, bring out the best in-ring in 2.0 talents,
it's a reason to keep him there.
Yeah, and that's how he can enhance his legacy. Is
that's a good point.
He's a great wrestler, and he's in these matches with wrestlers who maybe signed the company 8 months ago, and he's getting really good matches out of them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a solid point. King CDM, Vince calls up Index, but thinks they do better with a faction. Pick 3 other wrestlers to join Index in a faction.
3 other wrestlers.
Austin Theory.
Seth and Becky.
Oh, interesting. I like that. That's good. Their new adoptive parents. White Brownie says, how happy were you guys to see 2 exhibitionist Draculas in 2.0? Didn't think about it that way.
Didn't think about it either. Fear and Loathing plot twist. Breaker seeks advice and gets trained by the MMA Timothy Hatcher. Or the MIA, sorry. Timothy Thatcher.
Hey, I like
there
that.
you go.
That's a cool idea. Tell me everything you know. I want to beat him. All right, well, it's going to take a long time. No, do it now.
You got 2 weeks.
You got 2 weeks. I don't want to be your friend. You want a friend? Get a dog. Maybe that's what I need. A dog.
RTG, you find yourself at the NXT Halloween party. You happen to place your plate of prime rib on the table that Robert Stone got put through. You get so mad. What is your move? Do you go for Stone or for Mr. Fun Zion Quinn? Well, Robert Stone was the one that just put through the table.
Mm-hmm.
Zion Quinn, he's been booked as nothing but intimidating and basically unbeatable.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with that guy.
Yeah, you take out your frustrations on Robert Stone.
Exactly. Put him. Get a arm bar real quick. That was my prime rib.
Let's get a couple stomps in.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Phrenology. Do you think Toxic Attraction will hold all that gold into Mania week? Maybe even past Mania? I think they're doing that shit week by week, man. They're like, hey, who's impressing us this week?
That could be.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's the way 2.0 is. I think it's always, everybody's always auditioning for their job.
Yeah.
I think we'll see. That's too far away.
Profound Magician, Vince asked you for 3 people in NXT to give a push. 1 woman for the women's title, and then a man each for the NXT title and North American title. Who do you guys pick for each title?
Who would I push for the women's title? I mean, the best wrestler they have that isn't Io Shirai in the women's division and isn't Ember Moon might be Zoe Stark. She's really good. She's like a really good wrestler.
She is a really good wrestler.
Maybe her.
It's not bad.
Maybe I'd try to do Dakota.
I'd probably either push either JC Jane or Gigi Dolan to feud with Mandy Rose down the line, obviously.
Yeah, no, White Brownie has it. It's Saray. I don't know where she's been, why she hasn't been around, but Saray is top shit.
Yeah, it's weird that she hasn't been
really
more
weird.
Who to push against Ciampa?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, we've been racking our brains with that. I'd go with Joe Gacy. Whatever the story is they're telling.
Walter, North American title. No, actually, I'd push Carmelo. For take on Ciampa.
Okay, they should do an option C thing. Let them cash it in.
Exactly. And then North American title.
Carmelo would gift it to Trick.
Exactly. Say the same thing. They have both the top titles.
Mm-hmm. And then they go to the tag titles too.
That'd be great. Cody Miles with the sub for just lost it 20-something months.
Oh, is that 26? Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, wow. Dark Dank Lucha. We'll end on this one. He says, let's say WWE or AEW actually bought the Going in Raw gaming universe of promotions.
Oh, wow.
What 5 wrestlers all across the Friendo gaming universe would be considered the top 5 most sought after superstars? Well, Top Notch and Mecha Santa would be 1A, 1B.
Butch Bacon.
Butch Bacon. Got to go with Butch. I mean, clearly Miriam would be huge. Huge. And then what tag team? Who's the top tag team?
I mean, probably the most successful tag team between either division was probably Empire of Pain.
Probably. I think they were champs for a long time,
Yeah,
that's good. All right, that's going to do it. We're going to answer some more of these questions here in the Twitch chat, so stick around, everybody. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We'll be back tonight for our AEW review at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. So thanks for watching. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.